What are the events of 1964-65 that led to Operation Wetie?
64-65, we had a very unpopular government in Western region. We had a government that came by the way of the machinations of the federal government. The federal government was using its might to suppress the popular opinion, the popular tide. And it wanted at that point in time to even use the police and the military to suppress and oppress the citizenry of Western region. Ibadan, as a city, is not known to be subservient. Ibadan, in their history, had never been conquered by anybody. And so when any institution tries to suppress, oppress, impose anything on Ibadan political centrality, the place would explode, and that was what happened. So the NNDP, Nigerian Democratic, something like that, it was a party formed by Tola in association or in conjunction with the NCNC after they broke away from Action Group. And they called themselves NNDP, Demo, whatever. The Yoruba called them Demo. And they, even within themselves, imposed unpopular candidates. And they wanted to go ahead. There was no competition. They just wanted to take the whole thing. Every town, every local government, it wanted to be so dominant and kill the either to ruling party, which now turned into opposition. That's the Action Group, which at that time has also joined Okpara's NCNC to form OBGA. And the Yoruba people will not let it go.
By this time, Awolowo was in prison.
Awolowo was in prison, and the Yoruba they felt wounded that Awolowo, from 1959 federal elections, had been given a very rough time by the dominant party, by the federal government.
Led by Tafawa Balewa.
But Tafawa Balewa was just a puppet, led by Ahmadu Bello, who was the chairman of the party.
Then the premier of the northern region.
So it was putting an insult on injury, and the Yoruba felt no. And what they then did, and then there were shoddy elections. The electoral process was so flawed, and they even boasted that whether you vote for us or you don't vote for us, we continue to rule. The electoral umpire was also the federal government. The electoral umpire, the judiciary, the military, the police, they were all in the hands of the federal government.
So how is that similar to this moment?
Well, it's obvious. Now we really don't have a National Assembly. Everybody knows that. We have a National Assembly that is just a rubber stamp, but worse than a rubber stamp. And you have a judiciary that you can really not say much about. And then the police. Look at what happened in Ijebu the other time. I was going to write on what I call the brutalization of electoral process. That the abuse of the police force, the abuse of the powers of the coercive agents of government. And then the citizenry had been so impoverished that nobody really has a voice anymore. People are just tired, and people are confused, and people are very, very angry. Very, very angry. Even though they may not say it because they don't have anywhere now to vent their anger. The press had been so infiltrated by several hired writers who will just regurgitate whatever the government wants them to say. So in essence, once the press is muffled, judiciary is purchased, the armed forces are under the control, and then we don't have a National Assembly that you can talk about, you can really speak about. So it goes to show that we have absolutism, totalitarianism, and using force then makes it tyrannical. So what you're having is exactly what happened in 64, 65.
So you have seen a deliberate plot by the federal government to undermine the opposition parties?
Well, federal government keeps rejecting that idea, keeps saying it has no hand in the confusions going on in all the other parties. But we know that, people know that what they are saying is not true. And in any event, talking personally, I don't believe we have political parties in Nigeria. I've always said so. All we have is just a collection of businessmen, market women, traders. So just some market men here, some market women there, some traders there, changing wares, changing offices, changing titles, changing business names, changing business labels. That also have. But now you have a big shop, a supermarket that has captured the entire, that has become monopolistic. And that is what is happening. So we now have small shops, small traders, small businessmen wanting to free themselves from the stranglehold of this monopolistic organization.
And what would that struggle lead to?
What it will lead to is probably will lead to two things. Could lead to an implosion of the monopolistic organization. Because when you have a monopoly, which is not oligopolistic, if it's a really serious monopoly, there will be so many elements in that organization that will rebel against the leadership, especially in a political and or electoral situation where you now say in this superstore only one person should man the electoral place, somebody should man the engineering section of the shop, and that you don't allow others who are also eyeing the leadership of such segments within the shops, then they will rebel, and that will cause the implosion. Because if you have a manager of a electronics department in your monopoly, and he has subordinates under him who also are aspiring to be head of that department someday, and now there is a process where you say people should now vie for leadership of several segments within the organization, and you now say nobody should vie. Those who have been running that organization, that section should continue. Of course, those underneath them will rebel.
Can we put this in plain terms? Let's
Yes.
look at the APC and the Senate.
Yes.
The information coming is that Tinubu is saying senators should return, and there are governors in states who also have their own idea.
Yes.
What would that produce in the APC?
Serious implosion. It's going to cause serious katakata from end of May, middle of May. Because there are so many people who are even outside the Senate who are angling to become senators. And now you say they have to go back. And those who are there also have to go back to their governors to receive blessing. And we do know that most senators, if not all of them, are not in agreement with their governors. And then we also have governors who are also eyeing the senatorial seats. So how would that play out? So you have governors fighting some ministers, some senators from their states. You also see people in the APC leadership who are aspiring to become senators, who also be fighting the governor and will be fighting those who are already in the Senate chamber. So it's going to be serious infighting.